Welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. The Pharmacy Leaders Podcast is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, with interviews and advice on building your professional network, brand, and a purposeful second income from students, residents, and innovative professionals.
All right, so welcome everyone to the next episode of the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast. My name is Jackie Boyle from the Pharmacy Girl, and today I'm so excited to have Dr. Becky Winslow with us. Dr. Winslow has her Bachelor of Science in Biology and her Doctor of Clinical Pharmacy from Campbell University. She also has graduate certification in pharmacogenomics, as well as a pharmacogenomics educator certification from the University of Pittsburgh School of Pharmacy. For over 20 years, she has directed clinical programs and pharmacy operations in retail, hospital, public health, and long-term care pharmacies. As well, she is a serial entrepreneur and has owned several businesses, which is really exciting. She now works both in the U.S. and internationally as a pharmacogenomics educator and a business strategy consultant for businesses seeking to integrate pharmacogenomics into their business. So, Becky, we are so excited to have you with us on the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm excited about this also.
Great. Well, Becky, I really want our readers to our listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are, especially in such a great area of pharmacogenomics?
Absolutely. No path to leadership and influence and your ultimate career goal. No path is a straight linear shot. So my story is the same. I've always had an upward climb in mind. But I've always incorporated whatever the situation was at the moment, did the best with what I was in, and was still having my end goal in mind. So I actually started working in a pharmacy in my rural hometown in North Carolina when I was 15. And I learned the value of providing medical and pharmaceutical health information for patients in the community right where they live. So I went on to get my graduate degree in pharmacy from Campbell, and having to pay off graduation loans, I did go straight into retail. And the one thing there is that the person that was looking to employ me wanted me to be a floater within their pharmacy chain. And I started standing up for myself then, and just letting, right then and there, let them know that I wanted to have a relationship with my patients. So I was able to successfully negotiate actually being the pharmacy manager at a store near my hometown. And really, this was a great experience because I knew people, and so they came to see me in that place. And from there, I started working with the local health department. As you mentioned, I went into hospital pharmacy, long-term care. And in the background, I had my own consulting business going on. And 5 years ago, I decided to expand my career in an innovative field of pharmacy that I felt was up and coming and really gave me the challenge that I typically seek, to learn something new and be able to apply it. So that's how I got to the point I am right now.
Well, I love hearing about everyone's different career paths, and I know yours is an especially cool one, in my opinion. Pharmacogenomics, I feel like we're just at the beginnings of it, but
Absolutely.
You were kind of pioneering the way for the rest of us. So it sounds like your leadership journey has been a very interesting and exciting one. Can you tell us, has it been any different as a woman leader, or have you faced anything challenging throughout that pathway that you've overcome?
Well, absolutely. Like I mentioned, I didn't have a straight, well, in my mind, I had a straight path, but getting there hasn't always been straight. I feel like as a woman, I've just had to maybe stand up for myself a little bit more, or just maybe have myself heard, so that I have been able to push my career forward and be able to basically sell myself as capable and someone to go to, someone that would serve an organization well. And while I have been in competition with males, I guess you would call it competition. I've just had a great rapport with people. And that starts with, believing in myself and believing that I can do the job. So, I don't feel like I've ever been turned down for a job because I was female or anything quite that blatant. But I do feel like as a woman, I recognized that I needed to be maybe more aggressive in seeking out the positions and the places that I wanted to be.
Mm. So having the confidence in yourself, but then also taking that initiative to maybe step into a different role or a new and exciting pathway that pushed you to that next level.
Exactly. So as I was discussing with one of my girlfriends just yesterday in reference to this podcast, I applied for jobs that I didn't always meet all the ticks on the list for what they were looking for. No one is perfect. And what I was able to relate to my interviewer or the person posting the job was that I may not have exactly all the experience that you've listed here, but what I am is determined. I'm dedicated, and when I put my mind to it, I can do what I want to do. And so, basically repurposing skills from jobs that it may not have had the same title, but being able to repurpose those skills and the experiences I had into the new position has been a key to obtaining the positions that I've gotten.
I'm so glad you brought up that interesting aspect of, maybe we don't always meet, and this is for any candidate really, maybe we don't always meet exactly what is on the, wish list of a job description, but certainly other experiences could apply to certain situations. And I know we brought this up early on another episode, but women are actually, you're going against the statistics of women waiting to apply. Usually we wait to apply until we meet 110% of all, or 120% of all of the requirements. But we really need to start applying when maybe, this is going to stretch us a little bit out of our comfort zone, and that's okay. So thank you for being a great example.
Yes. I love a new challenge. So to me, it's, I guess, given excitement in helping me to, continue to use the skills I have, but apply it maybe in a little bit different situation. So, yeah, that's definitely important when you're moving up in leadership.
Absolutely. So, Becky, what do you think are some misconceptions about leadership, or what makes a great leader?
I feel like some people may not think of themselves as a leader, or maybe they don't want maybe think that it's more responsibility. But I think what you have to realize is that as a leader, one of the misconceptions is that you're going to have to do all the work. Absolutely all the responsibility is on your shoulders. But, part of being a good leader is having a good team and shaping and molding your team. And, a misconception about leadership is that you're going to deal out what each person does. And maybe there may be some misconceptions about having to micromanage people and such to make sure that the roles are being fulfilled. But, a true leader recognizes people for their talents, puts them in the correct positions, and sells them that they can do the job. And really leading through encouraging and building people up to know and empower them with the knowledge that they can do the job and they can do it well, and with a team effort will all be great. And, part of that is not wanting all the recognition for what maybe the people that are working with you are doing, but definitely letting the people surrounding you that we work with, making them shine and pointing them out and saying, I can't do this without a great team around me. So.
Absolutely. I think sometimes perhaps as pharmacists, we might, I know I'm not a type A. I kind of wish I was, but I'm not. But, we might be hanging on to all of the, we might not feel okay with letting go of the control, but trusting in others that they can do it, and maybe even helping them build new skills that they didn't have before is certainly a sign of great leadership, in my opinion, too.
Well, for instance, when I was the hospital pharmacy director for a rural hospital in eastern North Carolina, I was the one and only pharmacist. So I was the pharmacy director. I was the staff pharmacist.
Wow.
I was the P&T committee lead. I wore so many hats. So it was critical that I was able to recognize the skills that my team had that could make me free me up to be able to do the job that I needed to do. So, boosting up my technicians, recognizing what skills they have, and, not feeling like I needed to control every minute, because they've proven that they are good at their job and they can do the job. So that's been very important as I've gotten into larger organizations. Really.
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting perspective to have. Were you at a critical access hospital?
We were, it's almost all rural hospitals are. We weren't designated as such, but we really were a transition hospital. We basically patched people up and sent them on to larger facilities and such, and handled regular, common, chronic conditions. So, yes, that was the reason for the low staff rate and the purpose of wearing multiple hats. And, really, I learned really fast to count on those in my team when I was in that situation.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that with us. So we've talked a little bit about challenges and misconceptions, but what about the positive aspects of leadership? Where do you see opportunities for growth or some really great things about leadership that you wanted to share with others?
I feel like as women leaders, especially, we have an innate emotional, we can lead with just the comfort that we can offer to people, and, being the emotional creatures that we are, having the relationships with the people that seek guidance from you, having those relationships with your network where they know that, someone in your network knows that they can contact you. And I feel like this is a this puts women ahead of the game, because we are able to think of maybe others on a deeper level, and just offer that, I guess, that support and that connection with people.
Mm-hmm. And the natural nurturing tendencies, perhaps.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Totally feel
Absolutely.
that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking back, when you were younger, what are some things you wish you would have told yourself about your career or leadership? What are some big things that you wish you would have known?
I feel like if I had realized a long time ago that I don't have to be perfect to be successful, I don't have to be perfect to help others, that it's okay for me to define what perfect is, and maybe it's not the same perfect as everyone else's. That perfection is really something that would hold me back from really being able to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And being able to, I guess, maybe accept that, I can not have what I consider the perfect path, or it didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to, or saw how it was going to happen, but that it still turned out well, and I was still effective, and I still contributed to what I was assigned to do.
I love that message, and I know in my faculty role, I try to bring it back to students, because sometimes it seems like, there's this checklist that here's how my career is going to go, and I'm going to do PGY 1 and then 2, and then I'm going to get this first job, and this is what the job's going to be. That's just not what happened.
Right. I'm going to have the little white house with the little white picket fence.
Yes.
I'm going to have 2.5 children. Yes.
Exactly. And just trust in the process that what an interesting and awesome career path that each person has, and that most of it they could have never. I know even I've been in practice for 6 years now, and I couldn't even have predicted these 6 years at all.
Exactly. If I had known back then to accept what's happening today, and just know that, and have the confidence in myself to know that I can handle it, and it's going to turn out okay. And heck, it may lead me to something better, or a better path, or
Yes.
Closed doors are not always a bad thing. They can send you in another direction that just turns out better than you could have ever imagined.
Absolutely. So I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into pharmacogenomics. So how did you get into this career path, or where did you first get exposed? Can you tell us a little bit more about how you started in this area of pharmacy?
Sure. About 5 years ago, I quite honestly was at a point in my pharmacy career where I left long-term care. I was doing consulting on my own, and I decided to take some time to do some soul searching and think about what I wanted. Why did I originally go into pharmacy? What were my goals? I wanted to help people get better, be healthy. And I felt like at that time, and I still feel some today, that our health system in the U.S. is really concentrated on sick care and only treating people once they're sick, or after they've had an event, an adverse drug reaction or such. And so I really sought out a science, something that I felt like I could invest my time and energy into, that would really make positive impacts to pharmacy, healthcare, and people having the best medication experiences. And that's how I came into pharmacogenomics. 5 years ago, I could Google pharmacogenomics and you could find little about it. And I was thinking, well, I kind of doubted myself. I said, well, gosh, I don't think anybody's really doing this yet. I don't think anybody's really applying this yet. But I really saw and understood the science and how I could see the goal, I could see the end results, and that, we weren't there then, but that I might be able to make a positive impact in making people more aware of how useful this tool is. So I started educating myself. And during that time period, I actually had a physician come to me and ask me he also owned a pharmacogenomics lab, and he asked me, would I give some talks to the providers that they were trying to implement pharmacogenomic testing with, to give them the clinical perspective and to help communicate clinician to clinician how important it was. So that's where I started. And what I soon realized 5 years ago was that I could do this. These providers could provide the testing, but when they got the information back, when they got the data back from the labs, they just really weren't able to handle the information. As in, they would look at me and say, I know this is valuable data and this is awesome, but I really need you to explain this to me and help me with this. They would
you're
tell
like
me
a translator.
Yes, to be their translator.
That's great.
Because they didn't learn pharmacogenomics when they were in medical school, and pharmacy schools are, now teaching pharmacogenomics. But it just, it was not widely, the education wasn't where it needed to be. Mm-hmm. So that's really how I came into being, was being the source for these providers to help them apply this very important data. And so that was a great springboard. It was really a great springboard.
I think, and please tell me otherwise, because I know you know tons about pharmacogenomics. I believe we're still really at the infancy stage, right? Like there's still so much coming out about where this fits into therapy, which therapies are most effective, and probably tons that we just don't know yet.
Yes, I've had the pleasure of people, pharmacists, coming to me and asking me, how can I do this? And I've really had the pleasure of telling them this is an absolutely awesome time to learn this information, to branch out into pharmacogenomics and make it part of the clinical mainstream. Because we are in the infancy, and I'm so excited with where it can go. Oh gosh. Yes, I'll get on a soapbox about where it can go for medicine. So I try to just, I'm trying to focus myself on how much I can accomplish right now with what we have. So yes, it's a great field to get into. And as far as I'm concerned, it's absolutely necessary if you want to be successful in pharmacy going forward. Precision medicine.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I know ASHP Pharmacy Forecast 2018-2022 referred a whole portion of their estimations and predictions around precision medicine. So it'll be really exciting to see what happens, and I know you'll be one of the pioneers leading the way for us. So I
hope to continue doing that.
Yes. So I know we're going to wrap up soon, but can you leave us with a few thoughts about how you think women can best help support each other in pharmacy or in general?
Absolutely. It's been critical to my success to recognize trailblazers, recognize the women whose lives I would take the place of. To recognize these women, to surround myself with women such as this, and to learn from them, and to basically copy what they're doing. If they're successful and I would trade my life, my position in life with theirs, then I need to learn what they do and how they did what they did to get there. So I think that is very critical. And also for, 5 years ago when I was talking about pharmacogenomics, I got a lot of strange looks, and people said, are you sure? Because I don't hear of a lot of people doing this. So you really have to surround yourself with people that can see into the future, can understand innovation, and who will encourage you that, maybe even when no one else is believing, that they believe in you, and that if you believe enough in what you're doing, then you can accomplish this. So I think that's critical.
Yes, thank you so much. I know, I can't remember who said this one quote, but it's something like, when everyone's doing one thing, you go the other way, or something like that. And I feel like that's what your message was saying there. And also that we do learn so much from each other. And I know today I have learned so much from you, Dr. Winslow. So thank you so much for being on the Pharmacy Leaders podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Support for this episode comes from the audiobook Memorizing Pharmacology, a relaxed approach. With over 9,000 sales in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, it's the go-to resource to ease the pharmacology challenge. Available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon.com, in print, ebook, and audiobook. Thank you for listening to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. Be sure to share the show with the hashtag #PharmacyLeaders.